Hello and welcome to week 3, day 12 of the summer 2025 database driven web development course. I'm Jim Kaufman with Rankin Technical College. So today I wanted to kind of review, connecting to the shell, kind of getting you prepared for the assignment, for the lab assignment that's due this week. By default, you should already have that MFlix movie sample database loaded by default. But I'm going to go in, I'm just going to show you that as well, how to load any of those sample databases in case maybe you want to look at some of the other ones. I don't know. And I think I'm going to load the restaurant one so I can run a few commands on that one. And then I would also go into, just review some of the MongoDB documentation. So when you're working on your assignment, your lab assignment, you can reference to that documentation. So that'll help you out a lot. And I'm not gonna for the lab. I'm not gonna show you all the commands you need for that. But I'm going to I'm just going to go through a few things on that. But basically when I go through the documentation, you're going to kind of be seeing some of the commands you're going to be using anyhow. But I will go through that a little bit, the lab. So first, I want to kind of get back to connecting in general. So let me move that over here. So real quick here. Okay. So I just, I've had bookmark. I use bookmarks like this, bookmark bar. You can save this however you bookmark things. So I just bookmark the Atlas, basically the login to that. And by default, it's going to go there if you've already logged in. I think it'll do it for so many days. But, basically all you need to go is to cloud.mongodb.com, just like that. Hit enter. It's going to put in a kind of a session ID, no matter what you do there. But if you come in here, you got this the overview page, right? And if you click on your clusters, and this is just to show you to get the sample database. So click on clusters, and actually for connecting as well. So click on clusters, and then you come over here to these three dots, and you can go ahead and load sample data set. And for me, I think I've already got it loaded. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, I already got it loaded. I'll just do another one just for the heck of it. I'm going to do this weather data one. So that's how you would do that, and just load the sample data. So click on load sample data. I already have the restaurant one loaded, and I think, like I said, the MFlix one's there by default. So I'm going to load the sample data. And this takes a few minutes for this to load up. So I'm going to go ahead and pause my video for a minute. Okay, well, it doesn't take long. Just took a minute or so. So that data set's successfully loaded. Not that you have to do this. By default, you should have the MFlix one. If for some reason you do not, you can, like I said, you can always come here, click load sample data set, come in here, find the MFlix one. It's not showing because it's already loaded, right? And then load you that, just in case for some reason you don't have it loaded. Okay, so then the next thing we want to do is we want to connect to our cluster. So we go ahead and click connect here. And here's our different options. And so for this assignment, pretty much going to be using the shell for this. So you can click on this. And this is where you go ahead and you copy this. Let me get rid of this and start over. So here's just a basic command prompt shell. And you know what I think I'll do? I'll create something, so you can kind of have this bookmark. I'll create something where you can execute this in a simpler way. Maybe so that you already I'll write a little script so you'll have that, so you don't have to keep on coming back in here, okay? But for now, we're going to copy, paste that there. I'm going to hit the enter key here. And this is where you're going to have to put the password. And just out of review real quick, please remember that your login, your username, and your password is different for your cluster than it is for logging into Atlas and the MongoDB. You use the email address and a password to register for account on MongoDB. Okay, that's separate than your database. This is that separate one, the separate login that you created for the database cluster, so to speak. Right. Okay, and then in here you want to go ahead and go grab my password. That's probably almost impossible to remember on my own. Okay. Just hit enter. And it takes sometimes a few seconds. Now it's loaded. And then, just a basic command is using show. So show DBs. And this will show the ones. So by default, MFlix ones. I think analytics was there as well. But sample MFlix was should be already there for you. I did the restaurants one the other day. And then I did the weather data one. So you'll see. But as long as you got the MFlix ones, you're good to go. Okay, that's the only one that you're really going to be concerned about. But that's how you show what databases you have on your cluster, right? Let's see. All right. So next I want to go ahead and let's get rid of this. We'll just start off in this lab here. That's the wrong lab. That was the hands-on test. So basically here there's these cheat sheet commands. Okay. So for lab 02.01-01, go ahead and come in here. And you're going to have to really spend some time in this documentation. This documentation's will be very helpful for you. And so I'm going to go over a few things here. And some of the stuff you can kind of ignore. You're not really worried about, you know how to connect. You don't have to worry about that. Here's show databases. This basically shows the database. When you decide to use the database, obviously you're going to need to do that, right? So here you're going to do, for the MFlix ones, you're going to do use, and then you can do sample. Actually, you can always use tab. You can tab for completion, and now you're using the sample MFlix database is what you're going to be using for this lab. And here, since I'm already here, show collections. And there's your different collections. Comments, movies, theaters, and users is what you'll be kind of doing for this lab. You're going to have to access all of those different collections, the comments, movies, theaters, and users. Okay. So let's show collections. You can ignore this run JavaScript file stuff. So basically in MongoDB, you're working with, documents. You're not working with tables. As we discussed, you're working with documents, right? Documents make up collections. Collections make up databases, right? To skip on create, so for the first part of this lab, if you kind of look at all of this, the first part, you'll see list, right? List all movies, list all theaters, list all documentaries in the database. So this is all about listing, right? So listing's basically reading, right? For your CRUD operations, you got create, read, update, delete. So listing's going to be read. So also, make sure that you're in the right collection. Movies, right? Obviously the movie collection. Now here's a theater collection, so you're going to list all the theaters in the database. Here it's list all documentaries, but this is in the movies database. There's not a documentaries collection. This is really still the movies one. Obviously, movies, theaters down here. Here is comments, so this is going to be the comments collection. List the most recent, of a single movie. So that will be embedded in your movie. That will be embedded in the movie. List 10 users that have made the most comments. And list the movies. Okay. So that's the first part. So you're basically doing, the reads. You're doing a lot of finds here. The second part, you're going to be doing adding. So basically you're creating, right? The CRUD operation is the create, which is the insert yourself as a new user into the database. Anywhere you see add is going to be an insert. Here's an update. Okay. And it's kind of worded differently. Make a movie available in a new country, which would be an update. Add a movie to a new genre. Add a list. Delete. There's your deletes. Delete a theater and delete a user. So basically, you're going to enter all these commands. So what you kind of want to do is you're going to create a document called in the under your labs directory, and just it's asking you to use your name. So your username.txt. Go ahead and list all these, all right? And then underneath each one of these, then go ahead and put your commands, all right? You'll do that within the document itself. So list all movies in the database. Do it here, okay? So that you've got all of them there like that, okay? Let's see. The next thing we want to kind of look at here is our cheat sheet. So as you can kind of see, if you're just wanting to list one movie, or one document, this isn't specific to the movie. This is not specific to the movie collection here. But this is just kind of an example here. This cheat sheet, just an example. It's just saying a database, a collection. So you're going to be using movies instead of collection here, right? But find one is just going to return one movie. Now, in Mongo, Mongo does not, when you do find one, it doesn't necessarily going to return the very first movie in any specific order. So it's really the order for that's not going to be guaranteed. The only way to do that is, you're going to have to you would add code to your queries. But when you do a find one, you're basically just saying, hey, return me a movie, right? Return me a single document, I should say, in a more general sense. So find one's just going to return a single document. It's not necessarily going to be the first one that got entered or anything. It's just going to return one based on just its internal classification of how it decides to do that, right? So it's not really guaranteed to be what you would consider the first one. Then obviously you've got a find. So this find is going to return basically all of the movies, okay, or all of the documents, I should say. And it returns what's called a cursor. And think of a cursor as being a pointer, okay? A cursor is an object that references the documents returned by a query. When you execute a query using methods like find, or there's other ones as well like aggregate, which we'll look at a little bit in a little bit here. Find or aggregate, MongoDB doesn't immediately return all matching documents, right? Instead, it returns a cursor. So here, let's just go ahead and do that real quick here. So we're doing, let's not use this one. I want you guys doing that yourself. So here I want to use the, I want to do the restaurant one. And then here I'm going to do DB. And here I want to go ahead and do a dot find, open and close. Okay, so this is returning, this will basically return the whole, this ain't returning all of them, it's going to return the first set of restaurants. Okay, and as you can see down here, it says type IT for more. So like we were talking about the cursor, so what it's actually doing, it's not returning all documents, it's just returning a set of documents, okay? And it returns basically a cursor so that you can actually continue to iterate over the documents that are, you know, to get through the whole list. There's many, right? So just by putting an IT each time, it's going to keep iterating through all of these, right? And one way to make it stop is hit Control C, and then basically that will stop that. Obviously, hit Control C twice in a row, though, it's going to log you out of your session here. Okay, that's that. Find pretty, that can be very useful. You've got a big document with a lot of data, like, you know, sometimes you can have multiple lines of data. Some of that movie stuff, there's, you know, descriptions and stuff, multiple lines. And sometimes those documents don't look nice if you just do a find. If you do a dot pretty on that, you know, it'll be a little more prettier, right? To return something based on you know, certain criteria, this fourth one here. Here you're doing a find based on name and age. So when you do, you put these both in curly, you know, you put this in curly braces like that. You got a comma separating them, okay? And by doing this, this is basically you're saying and. So basically his name max and age is 32, okay? So that's going to return it based on that, okay? Here's basically a date. If it matches this date, it'll return the date. It'll return the record matching that date. Not going to go through that one too much. Not for now. You don't really need it at this point. Do want to go, so here's some different options. So here it's showing you year, greater than 1970. Here's greater than or equal to 1970. Here is less than and equal, not equal to. So this is going to return all of the ones that are not equal to 1970, right? And like I should, you know, say, you know, if there's multiple ones here on the first, or all of these, if there's multiple, it's going to return them all, right? So it's going to return all of them that are greater than 1970, etc. down here. This is not equal to 1970, so others. Here you're basically using an array. So these things would have to be in an array, right? So basically if the year is in 1958 or 1959, it will go ahead and return it. So when you use, to get something from an array, you do it like that, okay? And then this is not in, okay? This is, when it has an N before the N, this is not in. So it's going to return everything but these years. Okay. So that's what's called comparisons there. This is called logical. Okay. So here you're saying where name is not equal to max, right? Here you're saying find or. So you're basically doing it if it's this year or this year, return it. Not or. Okay, I don't want to go too much farther on that right now. But I do want to show you also want to go through, okay, query and projection operators. Let's look at this real quick. Well, these are query selectors. These are what we were just looking at, right? We were just looking at that. Here's the logical ones: and, not, nor, or. Also, if matches documents that have specified if this exists, then it will return it. Or selects documents of a field of the specified type. Okay. And we have more sophisticated things as well. I did want to bring up about projection operators, projections. So when we're talking about projections, so a projection in MongoDB refers to the process of selectively choosing which fields to return in a document, okay, that match a query. So you can actually, instead of returning the whole document, so if you just do a find on something, it's going to return the whole document, okay? But there's ways to use, what you can use is what's called projections in MongoDB. So maybe you can still, you're returning multiple documents, but you're only returning certain fields in that document. You don't necessarily want to have the whole document in some cases. You just want to return certain fields. So you use what's called projections in MongoDB, where you're just returning those specific fields. Okay, and let me show you this example. So we're in restaurants here, and I think I'm just going to cut and paste this. So for projections, that was kind of hard to read, but that's okay. No, it's not going to like that at all. Okay, let me just do this. Okay, just kind of want to show you this command. So here we're doing db restaurants.find. We're doing it where here's the first argument. So basically it's saying if Burroughs is Queens, okay? And then the second argument, so if you see you've got your curly braces closing that's your first argument of Queens. And this is a projection, so this will only return name and cuisine, okay? Name one, cuisine one. So let me real quick here. I ran that, and as you can see, you've got it's always going to return the ID, but it's got cuisine and name. If I would have just done a, let me get rid of that one. If I would just done a regular find here, as you can see, it's returning the whole object, right? It's returning everything, or I shouldn't say the whole object. It's returning multiple documents, and each document, it has everything from it, right? But by doing it like this, what you're basically saying is you want to return only where the Burroughs Queens, but you want only the name and cuisine, right? So if I ran that again, and that's just going to return cuisine and name, okay? Let's see, where were we at on this? All right. Something else I wanted to mention. So make sure that you take a look at this one. Let me just close these others. I actually do want to save a couple things here, though. I want to save this for later. So, make sure you look through all these links in the lab. So here's the sample MFlix data set. It's going to show you all of the sample documents here. So it's going to help you. It'll help you with this. Okay. So you basically have, this is showing you comments one. It's all the collections. So you got showing you in alphabetical order here, I guess. So here's the comments one. It's going to show you a sample document. Obviously you can just query, but I'll show you, in some ways, especially if you're going to create a new movie where you've got all these different fields. Yes, you can type that all out. You can type that all out in the shell, or you can just actually take that. You can actually take one of these sample documents, or cut and paste it from within the shell, one of the documents, and then you can go ahead and add everything you need to it to make yours. Okay. So I think it's asked you to do like create a user or something, which is one of the easier ones. But or creating a movie. Let's see. So this is what. So here's a movie. So basically, what you can actually do here, if you want to create a whole movie thing, instead of you can obviously type this all in yourself. But what you can do is go ahead and get rid of this. Because when you do an insert, when you do create a movie, you're going to be doing an insert, right? You're going to be doing an insert. So by default, it's going to create the ID. When you do an insert, MongoDB under the hood is going to create the ID. So you don't need to have that at all. You just start with title, year, and everything else. And like I said, you can create this document in an editor, get everything like you want it, and then you can actually run it and load it. You can insert it. Okay, makes things a little easier. And like even a user. So I know you need to create a new user. If you need to create a new user, what you can do is use the beginning curly brace. You skip this part. Right? Skip that part, and then you just need this. All right. Now this password stuff is kind of like showing you like an encrypted password. It doesn't even matter what you put in when you do that within the assignment for the lab. You just put in my password. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. We're not really going to be encrypting it or anything, so it's not really relevant at this point in time. So you can put anything you want in there. Okay. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, that if you want especially more complex documents, you can take that document outside of that. And I'll probably either create some notes on some of this, or either do a video on a few of these concepts to make some things easier for you. All right. All right. So what I really want to do is then what's really going to help, you need to really start learning to use the documentation. So here's like this is the document home, right? MongoDB.com docs. So if you're trying to do something, you can use this, right? Come in here. A Mongosh's command could also be run through insert one, insert many. So whenever you're doing things, you come in here and you just look at the documentation. You're going to have to do that. It's going to show you examples of this. Okay. So this is going to be your best friend, this documentation. You can kind of learn how to do this. Insert one. Here's basically the document that you're going to be inserting. Okay. Now, obviously, you can search on the internet as well for things, but this is going to give you all the different things that you can do. Can you guys give me just 1 minute? I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to provide you with some more documents or just some tips and tools to kind of help you out with this assignment. So that's all I have for you today. Please let me know if you have any questions, and have a good one.